Hey guys, this is Micah from Sapulpa Times, and I am sitting here with the last candidate that we're getting to interview for Ward 1 of the City Council election coming up on February the 10th, I
Correct.
believe.
Yes.
Yep, and this is Mike Harris. Mike, thanks for coming on the show and sitting with me today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Micah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
glad to have you. So, this is actually the first time that you and I have met, I believe.
It is the first time.
Yeah, so the other candidates, I've known Elizabeth for quite a while, and I've known Brandon even longer, but so we're just getting to kind of hang out. And I feel like, I don't know, I know you're a pastor
hmm
and a lot of other things that you have been, but how long have you lived in Sapulpa? We'll start there.
this stint, 10 years.
Did you live here before?
Yes, I went to school here.
Okay.
So started my sixth grade. And that was when Washington, Woodlawn in Washington was annexed over to Sacred Heart School because there were so many.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so that's where I ended up going.
That's a
Was
school that doesn't exist
It
anymore, right?
doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore, and we would walk up to Washington School for like band practice and basketball and things like that. So that was 72. So I was here all the way through high school graduate.
Okay, so I'm trying to get my mind straight on where that would have been. That's Lee and like Oak Street, maybe, like across the street from the Washington Admin Building now.
It's actually, I think it's 3 blocks south.
Okay, so close,
Close.
but not quite.
No,
So,
not when you're lugging a trombone from the Sacred Heart School all the way up to the annex.
oh, I bet. Yeah.
Walking that route every time. I kept looking at the flutes and thinking, why didn't I choose the
Why did
flute?
I choose trombone? Speaking as a father to a trombone player, I can relate to that.
Okay,
I
good.
understand. Yeah, my son plays trombone. So, although he plays euphonium now, which I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well, they correlate together, and so I
Mm,
have a grandson that does the same thing.
same thing.
Yes.
Okay, so lived in Sapulpa for all the way through high school, and then
hmm
what happened, and what brought you back?
Well, then I got married.
Okay,
That was one of the big things to started my career. Was the primary buyer for Hobby Lobby stores, and then I went on the road singing with the Ambassadors Quartet.
okay,
Sang with them for 22 years. Got into media from a television station in St. Joseph, Missouri, a series of television station called All American Network, and it was owned by first of all Paul Crouch with TBN, so it was Christian
okay,
broadcasting,
okay.
and then Jay Sekulow, who's an attorney, bought those from Paul, but with the FCC ruling rather, they could only have certain amount of stations at the time. So sold them off to Jay Sekulow. Then he didn't want them. He's like, I'm an attorney. I don't want to do anything with media. And then he sold them to a guy by the name of Sonny Arganzoni and Nikki Cruz. And so that's the station network that I went to work for, having no knowledge of media or anything, and was a general manager, and then became a regional manager, and ended up running stations in Chicago, St. Joseph, Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii, Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Did you live
and
in all these
Tulsa.
places while you were running those?
No, I lived in St. Joseph. We lived in St. Joseph, Missouri, and so I traveled.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was going to say, traveling St. Joseph's and Hawaii are very different environments.
Very different environments, and believe it or not, everybody was jealous and envious and like, oh wow, must be rough going to Honolulu. But the truth of the matter was, the first trip I made there was I was there for 2 weeks, and I literally saw the beach flying in and flying out.
So you didn't get time to enjoy
Did
any
get
of it.
time. I did later, but not for
Okay,
that first trip.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then, so worked the radio stations, and then how'd you end up back in Sepulveda?
Then back into Sapulpa, we transferred back here with that network, and then went to work. They sold back to TBN, and so I chose not to continue my employment with them when they sold back to TBN, and I
Okay.
went to work for LaCie Broadcasting,
Oh, okay.
and ran the station Channel 47 in Tulsa, and worked there for a while until then I took on a job as vice president, chief operating officer for 3 hospitals,
Okay.
and that was
That's quite a shift
quite a
then.
shift, quite a shift, and it's not a shift that I'd recommend. And but it was really good experience. But then went back singing on the road with the ambassadors, and then Beams of Light Church here in Sapulpa.
Hmm.
We're on the south end of town. Needed a pastor, and they called me to see if I could just fill in because they needed someone to fill in, and it was about a 6 week stint before I could even get here because of our
Oh, okay.
schedule, singing schedule.
Okay.
But I came and I filled the pulpit, and then the church wanted us to become the pastor. Well, that was another shift because I was ready to just keep singing on the road,
Hmm.
and but it wouldn't let me go, and it was one of those heart things that just kept pulling on me, and I was like, okay, so I just threw my name in the hat basically, and the rest is history. I came off the road to pastor full time at Beams of Light. Been there ever since.
And when was that?
That would have been, well, this March will be 10 years,
Oh, okay.
so
So it's been a good long while
it's
then.
been a while.
So you've been around Sapulpa long enough to see a lot of the changes that have happened over the
I
past
have, I
decade
have,
here.
yes, I have,
Okay.
yeah.
So, well, before we get to the other question that I have about that, what inspired you to run for city council?
Well, I have been more involved in a lot of the legislation and things that's going on because of the media side again,
Okay.
because I serve as the audio video director for a movement called City Elders. It's a group that basically is trying to bring pastors and leaders together in unity well, Old Testament governing the gates of the city.
Okay.
And so just to make sure we have, the right people, moral people, biblical people, sound foundation with kingdom principles. And so I've been running the AV department for them for, I think it's like 5 years now.
Okay.
So that got me really more involved in things that are going on in Tulsa, surrounding cities, and the state, doing commercials for governor, for senators, for AGs, et cetera.
Hmm.
And so it really, really piqued my interest. And so I think that was in the back of my mind, and so really where the rubber met the road was I'm looking at my resume, thinking of all the things I've done, and I think, you know what? I believe I can bring a lot to the table for a city that I love, a city that, I mean, my high school years were phenomenal. I grew up with the George C. Brights,
Yeah.
the Vidon Laws,
Yeah, I don't remember him. Yeah.
and I mean, these are heroes in my book, and so I love the city. So we moved back here because of the pastoral, and then because of my heart for the city and seeing that, hey, I could get involved and I could lend a hand and be a servant in that respect too. So I thought I'm gonna put my name in the hat and see if I can't be a help to the city.
Okay. Did you decide to put your name in the hat for a particular reason? And I'm kind of it's a leading question, but I'm asking it because I noticed on your website that you phrased it in an interesting way when you said you're not necessarily running to unseat somebody,
Right.
and you felt like it was more about how you were sounded like you were trying to be obedient to what you believe God's called you to do.
That's
Can,
exactly right.
can you talk more about that?
Sure, because it's truly not to unseat anyone. I have no reason to have anything against anybody on the council. I have utmost respect for all of them. Could I look at things that have happened in the city that I see as a end result and question it? Well, sure, anybody can. That's hindsight. That's 2020 vision.
Yeah.
And so I choose not to go down that road. First of all, I haven't been privy to all of the reasons that decisions were made for anything in the city. I just see the end result.
Okay.
And so when I say I can lend a hand, 66 years old, it's kind of cool. Route 66
Oh yeah. Yep.
goes right
It's a big
through
year for that.
right through Ward One, and
Yeah.
and so I look at that and I just think, you know what? I have a lot to bring to the table, And as a Sapulpan, an old Sapulpan, an old chieftain with still the old logo in my brain when I think about it, I just think that I can bring a lending hand. When you look at my resume and some of the things that I mentioned, along with the construction, even the construction side, I mean, I've poured concrete all over the state. Um, Put in runways at Vance Air Force Base, airplane hangars at Air National Guard.
Okay.
I put in streets, so not only on like concrete placement, not only reading prints, but actually ran backhoes for new streets and new drainage, and from the steel reinforcement, selecting what steel goes by the plans, to actually digging out the inlets. All that to say, I have hands-on experience too that I just believe would be beneficial to the city.
Okay. Okay. So you feel like the life experience that you have really would lend itself to being a good city councilor?
I do, I do. The best way I can say it, really, Micah, is qualified.
Okay.
I feel like I'm literally qualified to serve in that capacity in a way that is just beyond having material brought to me. And I'm not saying that's the way it happens, but having material brought to me and doing the best I can and just making a decision. I think that I actually have something to contribute to knowing why those decisions need to be a yay or a nay.
Okay, so kind of touching on that then was kind of my next question was you did mention that you don't know a lot about the reason why decisions were made over the last uh, primarily the thing that's kind of at the forefront of everybody's mind right now is we just cut the ribbon on Dewey
That's
down
exactly.
and downtown and the construction everything that happened there. I just think that maybe a lot of people are going to be having that in mind when they head to the polls next month, and so I wanted to ask. Not being privy to the reasons about those decisions, being able to stand and look at the result, like you said. I'm curious as to whether you would have done things differently or
I,
anything of that nature.
Well, and to answer your question with in the regard to the downtown, when I've asked residents, what they think of this and what's their biggest concern, it's always the same for me so far.
Okay.
It's always the points of interest is always taxes. It's the roads. It's downtown with a lack of understanding, and for me as well, as to why we had to shut down in such a strong way to seem to prevent the shop owners and customers from having really good access to
Hmm.
downtown for such a period of time. And a lot of people were worried about the owners, worried about the shop owners through that time. Now we're on the backside of that, and you see the result. Well, it's gorgeous. It's great.
Right.
So now hopefully the customers and the shop owners can get back to a high speed chase of getting back in the black if they're in the red. And
Hmm.
I suspect that that's been probably a challenge for all of them. So
Yeah, we heard that quite a bit
yeah,
over
I
the
mean,
years.
and
Yeah.
and and again, I'm not privy to the reasons why there needed to be, shut down in such a manner. I mean, I've seen road work where they're working and creating, repairing an entire bridge, and they don't shut that down. They do half of it at a time or a lane at a time,
Hmm.
so they still allow the access that needs to be passing through there. So. But that's just one of the concerns, another besides those points that I hear a lot is why can't we have more eating places, more restaurants? And so that would be a good question that I have. What are we doing to incentivize people to come to Sapulpa? It's
Okay.
a great city,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I don't know why. Uh, I'm not a really Olive Garden fan guy, but it would be nice to have that. Why did Sand Springs get them? Why did Sand Springs get Chick-fil-A? Why
Right.
did Glenpool get Wendy's? I mean, those are just questions.
Yeah, they're questions that we get asked quite a bit. And just to, I'm going to take a moment to recap something here that I did in a
Sure.
previous show. This is just real recently. I did a show about the misconceptions of city council, and um, the city people here seem to think that city council dictates who opens a business here, and whether like Chick-fil-A wanted to come here and they didn't let them or something. I think people are under that misunderstanding, and of course Elizabeth, because she's been city council, will tell you no, we don't do that. And um, but not trying to hijack your thing. So I just wanted to ask, did you have any ideas about how we can work? So, for example, here's kind of an idea. The city is holding a piece of property over on South Main, where some houses were knocked down, and they're holding on to that with the idea of possibly selling that to some sort of a brand name, somebody that's got recognition that will bring tax dollars and things. So, do you have any ideas on what Sapulpa could do or what you might do as city councilor to maybe attract some of those businesses?
That right there sounds like a great idea. It
Great.
also, I'd also look at is there possibilities where we could incentivize businesses to come in with uh, no tax for a year, or I mean, I'm just throwing out something, as far as just something to incentivize them to come to Sapulpa. I know our median income is not possibly what some cities are, but I think it's enough to justify some more eating places for sure.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I would just look at what have we done, because I don't know what have we done, what could we do more. I love that idea of being able to take a space and clear it off and make it ready for whoever is looking at maybe coming into Sapulpa. I want to see Sapulpa be a draw,
Right.
even like our public safety. you know, Thank God for our firemen. Thank God for our police officers. I want Sepulpa to be a draw to where uh, police officers and firefighters go, man. They take care of you. They pay you well. I want Sepulpa to be on one of my top lists to come and work. Not well.
If you're a firefighter or a police officer, you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, not, and I don't know that it's not that way, but I don't want us to be kind of just catch the crumbs type city,
Yeah. I
for
understand.
especially for public safety. I think we ought to be a draw where everybody says, "Man, that'd be a good place to serve. That'd be a
Okay.
great place to serve." That's why I'm here. I'm here serving from a pastor's heart, from a servant's heart. This city has my heart, and that's part of the reason that I felt the tug. I feel like I can continue and extend that heart's servant in serving with the city council.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a
I just think
pretty
that.
good answer there. We're getting close to our time. I just wanted to make sure, give you a chance. Did you have anything else we didn't cover you wanted to make sure that we did?
No. Besides, I live in the south end of town, so in Ward 1, of course,
Hmm.
and we have a lot of water shut
Oh,
off
okay.
problems. And so I would like to have a little bit more information on that. I'm sure our infrastructure it's old, and I know we just spent quite a bit of money on a new water line going east and west towards Walmart and the other way. But on the south end of town, I know in last year was at least 12 times water was shut off. I'm not
At
saying
your house?
no, not just at my house, in the city.
Okay.
And so it felt like we got all 12 of them, but it just seems like an awful lot in comparison to other places that we've lived.
Okay.
And so I'd like to see something drawn up for a possibility of redoing some lines to the south in the water.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't think we've heard that from anybody else yet. So that's an interesting take that you're bringing in it. So you've got a website, mikeforsapulpa.com, right?
MikeForSapulpa.com. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so you guys be sure to dig into that if you want to learn more about Mike and any other ways that they need to know how to get a hold of you or anything.
I do have a Facebook page, the
Okay.
same. It's the same thing, Mike for Sapulpa. And so if you're on Facebook, you can find me there. I have my own Facebook with the church. We do live streaming, and I'm just having a good time being back in Sapulpa for these 10 plus years. and living here. I love living here. We came from Broken Arrow. Nothing against Broken Arrow. Nothing against the Rose District and all of that good stuff. But when you look at the traffic there compared to here, I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you, you all, Sapulpa, you be excited about living here. You might think the traffic's bad. Trust me. Just go over to Broken Arrow for the weekend, and you'll see it's not bad at all. And so I appreciate living here. I really do.
Okay, good to hear. Well, thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me. It was great. And thank you guys for watching and tuning in to our election coverage here at the Pulpit Times. We'll be back shortly. I don't know exactly when we'll have our next one. The next election after this one isn't until April. And so we'll probably spend the bulk of March trying to catch the candidates that are going to be up for election in their respective wards. And then, of course, you stay tuned and we'll be here with the all of that coverage and the questions that you have for those candidates. So thank you again. Don't forget to vote on February 10th and for Ward 1, including candidate Mike Harris. So
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys. Have a good one. We will see you again real soon. Bye bye.